أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز شان كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل نشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وأروة وثقى فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا بني آدم قد أنزلنا عليكم لباسا يواري سوآتكم وريشا صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات بجي محمد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Continuing with our discussion of Khutba Muttaqeen by Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam from Nahjul Balagha. We've been discussing about the vices of tongue because that was the first segment that Imam chose to discuss when he says Muttaqeen are those mantiquhum as-sawab, that their speech is according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to speak. After having a detailed discussion in regards to that, I think we went 2 or 3 sessions, we move on to the next segment of the khutbah where Imam says, وَمَلْبَسَهُمُ الْإِقْتِصَادِ. The second attribute that Imam counts for Muttaqeen. He says, Muttaqeen, their dress is moderate. And for that purpose, I recited this verse from Surah Araf, verse number 26, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O children of Adam, we have bestowed upon you clothing to conceal your private parts as an adornment. We see the word malbas that Imam is using is infinitive noun from the root of labasa or libas, which means dress that we use and we wear normally. It's used in its literal meaning as well as metaphorically. Here we will mention 1 literal and 3 metaphorical usage by Quran as far as the word libas is concerned. So it's not always, when you look at the words and the ayat of Quran, and if you look at the translation of it, the literal meaning of it, it's not always the case that you get the correct understanding from the verses, because sometimes the word is being used in its literal sense, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using it metaphorically, and therefore it could change the meaning drastically. We can derive from this verse 2 obvious things. First, let's speak about this verse that I spoke to you, Surah Araf, verse number 26. It's the features and particulars of dress. It has 3 apparent qualities. 1, it hides the defects of insan, and that's one purpose you put on these clothes, so that you can hide your defects. 2nd, it protects one from danger of heat and cold. That's according to, as the weather changes, you dress according to that. And then it is an adornment for insan as well. At the same time, when you're taking care of your body from heat and cold, and you're protecting your body from defects through this libas, but you're also make sure that you wear something which is a zinat to you, which comes out as an adornment. And that always doesn't mean that it has to be something very expensive, lavish, out of this world, extraordinary. No, it could be very simple, yet it could be elegant at the same time. The word arish that Allah used at the end, warisha, the word arish literally means wings of the bird in Arabic. since it is their natural dress. Birds, they do not have any dress. The natural dress is the wings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given to them, and they protect their body. They do all of the things that we do with our dress. They do it through their wings, and they cover their body with it. So it is referred to dress in general. And since the wings are of different colors in various animals, various birds rather, it gives the meaning of adornment as well. So you see all the beautiful birds, different colors. It gives you the meaning of adornment as to why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using this word risha as adornment. Moreover, rish refers towards the cloth which is laid upon the rein of horse or a camel, and that is also something which Arabs used to do. Above verse mentions or points out two qualities of this garb, two qualities of this garment. It hides the defect and it serves as an adornment. Keep these two in your mind. Inshallah, it will come in handy 10 minutes later in the later part of the khutbah. The word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses, He says the word anzalna in this ayah is used in the verse which indicates the fact that it is sent from above and not from the skin of the animal apparently. So the dresses that we have designed for ourselves or we have bought that are designed, they're not coming from the animal's skin. Rather, Allah used the word anzalna. Some mufassirin believe that it is in the form that it is from these land animals who receive their sustenance from above, which is attached with, obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and nevertheless it is from top to bottom, and that is the criteria which is being mentioned over here. The three metaphorical usages of libas that Allah mentions, will recite three verses. Libas serves as a nighttime. Metaphorically, Allah uses the word libas for the nighttime. Surah Furqan, verse number 47, Allah says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا وَالنَّوْمَ سُبَاتًا وَجَعَلَ النَّهَارَ نُشُورًا. It is He who has made the nighttime as a covering for you, as a libas for you, sleep as a rest for you, and the day for you to rise again. So we see the first part of the ayah says, لَكُمُ اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا. This night is, in other words, libas for mankind. Obviously, you cannot translate this word in the literal sense as the clothing. Rather, it is metaphorically used by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give the analogy that libas, which serves the purpose of hiding your defects or serves the purpose of protecting you, gives you this comfort. The same thing can be found in the nighttime. And so night is also providing the same exact things in the way of covering you. And the words covering is resembled to the nighttime. Robe is used in its non-literal meaning because night is a type of covering which insan utilizes for sleeping, takes comfort in it. Night is a covering for all creations. So it's not just the mankind. Rather, this is also for all of the existence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. So everybody is included in it. The word subata that Allah uses in this ayat is an extract from the root sabta. That means cutting off or discontinuation of work or resting. This is why the Jews refer to Saturday as Yawm as-Sabt. Why? Because which literally means the day of rest. So they take rest on that day. They do not work on that day. And those very, Orthodox Jews, they actually, follow their tradition in a way that they do not even do anything that has to do with any type of igniting or any type of putting off when it comes to even lighting the stove or turning on the car or any of those things. They stay away from and they refrain from it completely. It is a complete discontinuation of all physical actions. That is why during our sleep we are completely unaware of our surroundings and as far as the movements are concerned. Second meaning of libas that Allah uses in Surah Araf, verse number 26, He said, libasu taqwa dhalika khayr. He says, libas is another word resembled as taqwa. We've been reciting, we recite in the beginning of the khutbah of Juma that we recite in Arabic. Always it mentioned, usikum bi'ibadillahi bit-taqwa. Right away, the taqwa is something which is very important in our life. It says the garment of God wariness or piety, that is the best garment. So taqwa is the best garment. In another place, it says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The most pious among you are the ones who has the most noble among you are the ones who are the most pious ones. And same thing is over here being said, the garment of God wariness, that is the best garment. Robe here is used as a metaphor for taqwa, since taqwa has the same qualities of a robe. It protects the muttaqi from hazardous things. At the same time, it is an embellishment on this person's personality. So person ba taqwa, person who's referred to as muttaqi, right away has this personality. If even nobody else recognizes it, at least Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at most recognizes this person who's pious. And third, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this word libas in a not so unusual way. He says in Surah Baqarah, verse number 187, Hunna libasun lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. Spouses are considered to be garments of one another. So the first place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was resembling nighttime. Second, he used the word taqwa, resembling it to be libas. And over here, he's using spouses to be the libas of one another. Husband and wife are compared with each other as the garments. Let's examine the functions of a garment. You wear clothes to protect your body, as we mentioned before, from warm and cold weather. You wear clothes to hide your bodily defects from others. You wear clothes to make your appearance better. It is a decoration and as well as comforting. You wear clothes, the garments should be appropriate color and according to gender as well. Not wearing clothes is a matter of dishonor. You don't really see people walking around without clothes. Every person tries to keep their clothes as clean as possible, keeping it away from impurity, dust, or anything. Right away you clean it off. These are the 6 possible meanings of a cloth or garment we can deduce. Now let's examine the same 6 things as far as the husband and wife Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses to be the garments of one another. You protect each other, husband and wife, protect each other from warm and cold temperament. Explain, for example, obviously, we see in the explanation of when a person, or one of the 2 spouses, they're not feeling well, or a person, for example, husband comes home from work, a long day, tiring day, and, obviously not feeling up to par at the same time, you take care of it, you, in a way, respond in a way that you do not, further increase the anguish of the husband. Same way, if a wife had a long day with the kids, children at home, doing things, and she herself is not feeling well, husband should also do the same thing and make sure that they are able to calm the nerves as far as the warm and the cold temperament of one another is concerned. We see that sometimes delay your reaction by 5 minutes instead of replying back angrily is something which ulama have mentioned. So for example, everybody gets into argument. If you do get into an argument, and if something which you want to reply right away, ulama says, delay your response by 5 minutes. What that does is that when you delay your response by 5 minutes, or you don't reply for 5 minutes, right away you have settled the dust, and therefore this does not go any further, because anger is compared to with fire. I've mentioned it before as well. Anger is compared to with fire, and the best way to put out or extinguish the fire is putting the water onto it, extinguishing with water. And the same thing is mentioned by ulama akhlaq, that when you get angry, first thing you should go ahead and do is perform wudu. When you perform wudu, you're extinguishing this fire which is increasing in you and is turning out to, every sentence that comes out of the mouth is going to go ahead and burn wherever it lands. That's the first thing. Second, husband and wife cover each other's shortcomings by hiding each other's defects. Third, by forming this beautiful bond, they take comfort in one another, and children become the adornment of this libas. Fourthly, husband and wife should be compatible so that, there's kufv in between them, the same way libas should be compatible according to the gender. 5, not marrying also leads towards ill health and dishonor, the same way not putting on the clothes is a matter of dishonor. 6thly, husband and wife should also help each other stay away from sins. And these are some of the things that we can resemble as far as libas is concerned, and why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is comparing husband and wife with this garment. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So far, we only discussed 1 literal usage of the word libas and 3 metaphoric usages of libas. Now let's examine the word iqtisad that Imam used. He said, malbasahumul iqtisad. Muttaqeen are those whose libas is iqtisad, is in moderation. So this word, which is derived from the word qasd, in the meaning of moderation, when Amir al-Mu'mineen says malbasahumul iqtisad, he uses the word dress or garment in its literal sense. So he's not using it metaphorically. The examples that we gave you from Quran, from night, husband and wife, and the third one that we gave you of taqwa, Imam is not using the word libas in its metaphoric sense. Rather, Imam is using it in the literal sense, that muttaqeen are those, their libas is also in moderation. The way their speech was in moderation, their libas is also in moderation. The dress of a muttaqi is moderate. Since dress is a sign of living, therefore life of a muttaqi is also based on the laws of moderation. It gives us a lot of incentive over here as to how should we go ahead and address this issue of libas. We see, and inshallah we'll get to it towards the end with some advices. Hopefully they are worth listening and we can adopt them as well. If one practices moderation in this aspect of life, he will not face financial challenges. Keep your life in moderation and you shall not be affected by the ups and downs of the economy. Otherwise, we can see the millionaires are struggling today. Why? Because their life wasn't spent in moderation. They had so much, but they spent it lavishly. They went ahead and spent it in a way that they ran out of those millions within a few years, and therefore they were not able to go ahead and plan out their life in the most moderate way so that it could survive or could be there until the end of their life. And therefore we see, people become millionaires in a few years, and then the same way they go down the drain within the next few years because there's no iqtisad, there's no moderation when their life is concerned. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, ma'ala imra'un iqtasada. He will not suffer, that person who is moderate in all of the affairs and not just this one particular affair that Imam is mentioning. And also Imam says, al-faqru mawtul akbar. So you should not go ahead and say, well, I'm going to live in moderation, so I will become the most poor person in this community, in the society. No, that is not something what Imam is mentioning either. Sometimes we take it the other way around. Imam says, al-faqru al-mawtul akbar. Poverty is the biggest death. Is actually telling you against poverty. Stay away from poverty. Do not inflict this poverty upon yourself. Just because he's telling you to be moderate, don't go down the other path and become extravagant when you go down to the path of poverty. Indigent, poor dies every second and senses himself in the state of ihtizar, that they're going to leave this world any second. He doesn't go after the glamour and the splendor of the world and keeps his life simple and without hurdles. But at the same time, it should be enough for you to have a survival. Imam also says, al-hammu nisful haram. He said, being sad and troubled all the times increases the aging process by half. So make sure that you lighten up sometimes. Make sure that you give a smile to people sometimes. Make sure you keep the mood nice and easy most of the time, if not all the times. Because Imam says, hammar gham, sadness and sorrow throughout on the face of this individual will increase the aging process by half. In Usul al-Kafi, we find Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam uses the same hammar gham, same sadness and sorrow in the most productive manner. He says, yes, hammar gham in that particular area is wrong. Yeah, you should not have hammar gham all the time and you should not be saddened all the time. But this is the place where you should be showing your sorrow and your sadness and your anguish. Rasulullah says, Man asbaha la yahtammu bi umur al-muslimin falaysa bi muslim. He said, the one who wakes up in the morning and is not aware of the affairs of the Muslims is not a Muslim. The one who does not have any hamm or gham as far as the other Muslim is being, battered around, is being inflicted with different things, and you do not have the same sorrow and the same feeling. Because remember, in a hadith, Prophet also mentioned that all of my ummah is kind of like a body part, is the whole body with different body parts in it. If one body part is suffering, the other body part already knows that there's a suffering going on. We should not detach ourselves with the other Muslim ummah so that we do not feel the pain of other people. Over here, we're so detached by ourselves within this one community, let alone a Muslim community at large within the United States or even throughout the world. So this is something which is lacking, and Prophet is drawing our attention towards that. Yes, when you wake up in the morning and you do not have any hamm or gham in regards to what the Muslims are suffering in the world, you are not a Muslim. You're actually out exiting the state of Islam. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad pa. And therefore, Prophet also mentions that, a person who hears Man asbaha la yahtammu bi umur al-muslimin falaysa minhum wa man sami'a rajulan yunadi ya lal-muslimin falam yujibhu falaysa bi muslim. First, he said, a person who does not wake up with this hamm wa gham. Second, he says, the one who hears the call of a Muslim and doesn't reply is also not a Muslim. This is where we understand, why we recite the ziyarat of Imam. In the ziyarat, when we say, وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً سَمِعَتْ بِذَلِكَ فَرَضِيَتْ بِهِ. What does that mean? It means exactly the same, that The curse of Allah be upon the people who heard the call of Imam, or who were at the time present, but they still stayed away from it, and they were pleased with what was going to inflict Imam ﷺ, and they did not help him. Going back to the original talk, Malbasahum al-Iqtisad, Imam said, among the two tafasir we explained about Malbasahum al-Iqtisad, first one is referring towards the physical aspect of it, which is the apparent materialistic lifestyle. Second is the libas, is being explained in immaterial sense. When one says dress of someone is moderate and according to taqwa, it means that this moderation or his moderation has encompassed all aspects of the life. We see Quran also tells us to be moderate, not in just dressing or speech and all, rather be moderate in all areas of your life. You should not go out and jump without, or you should not find yourself onto one of the two extremes. It says, وَقْصِدْ فِي مَشْيِكَ وَغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ. In Surah Luqman, verse 19, it says, be moderate in your walking, just the same way you're moderate in your talking. So the same moderation should continue in your speech, in your talk, in your walk, in your dressing, in all areas of life. This moderation should come and play a role. We also use it in our speech sometimes when someone gives a political reply, or I don't know how to say it, maybe a bureaucratical reply to an answer that they don't want to give an answer. He says, this person is very economical in his speech. What does that mean when a person is very economical in speech? Because they're applying the concept of iqtisad, being moderate maybe, but in the other sense that they do not want to answer correctly. And that's why when you put, a candidate in front and you ask them a question and they have to answer it, in front of the public, they might give an economical answer and they might not give you what you want to hear. Don't walk too fast lest people are left behind, and don't go too slow lest you are left behind everyone else. We see that it has been narrated that Harun al-Rashid, at the wedding of his son, instead of showering money, people used to shower money onto the public who had come to attend the wedding, which was the custom at that time. Showered pieces of paper with names of different towns written on it. And whoever got a hold of one of these papers, whatever town's name was written on it, that town now belonged to these individuals. This is how he was spending when it came to his son's wedding. Instead of showering just bills and money, he showered these pieces where he wrote down the names of the towns. And people were collecting it, and at the end of the day, they said, they claimed the town was after them, and now it was named after them, it was given to them. It is hard to comprehend all of that, but one thing is for sure, that this type of lifestyle, it cannot be achieved except through haram earning or haram means. According to the expert, these are the things people need to run in their lives. They need to run their lives. For example, food, dress, shelter, resources that have now become necessity of the life. For example, cars and whatnot. And, carpets and everything else that is sort of now becoming the necessity of the life. And then there are unnecessary things that we have included in our lifestyles. This is where Masumeen have told us to stay away from it. It is considered to be israf. It is considered to be tabzir. And inshallah, we will go into how Imam and Masumeen have explained to us to stay away from this israf and this tabzir. But at the end, just as I said, I wanted to give a little bit advices as far as how sometimes our spending go out of bounds, and we fall prey to how shaitan wants us to listen to him. We see that a lot of people, and especially when it comes to weddings, they spend so lavishly that the dress of the bride is sometimes so expensive, and it is only used once. And these would be the people who are the biggest propagators of israf and tabzir, that do not overspend or do not be extraordinary when it comes to spending. But at the same time, we fail to realize when our wedding parties are taking place, especially the dresses for the brides, that is only used once in their life, and they spend so much money on it. Now, it would be okay, our Maraje, when you ask this question and this tafta, they say it would be okay if the same dress is passed down to someone else who's able to use it. Why let someone else go ahead and spend the same amount of money in order to go ahead and spend that much money to go ahead and make this dress? And we don't realize we are also part of this israf, and we're also part of this tabzir rather. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to be able to spend our life in moderation. Our dress should be in moderation. Our speech should be in moderation. All aspects and areas of our life should be spent in moderation. إن أحسن الحديث وأبلغ الموعظة كتاب الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر